right, so I'm going to fire up a saw here for you. I had it running yesterday, and it's sounding really good on the bench, but it picked up a fuel leak. So the fuel and the fuel leak's bad enough that I can't put it in the wood. So I'm going to fire it up, kind of show you what she's running like right now. This is that Partner 5000 that I've converted to alcohol. This is like a basically going to be a race build, and I have some options here. But before we get into all that, let's go ahead, get her fired up for you so I can show you what's going on, and then we're going to kind of go over the options. And I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think I know what I'm going to do. So, alrighty, check it out. Well, she's running a lot better. She's leaking fuel like freaking crazy. It's coming out right there. Right there at that bolt. Watch. Look at it. It just pours out of there. So, yeah, a little closer. Can you see in there? The carb is icing up on me as I run it. Hopefully that doesn't turn into too much of a problem. And you'll notice that this is no longer the 660 carburetor. This is an old Tillotson carburetor that I modified to do this. And I'm able to open this carburetor up to flow more fuel and still have at least a little bit of adjustment than what I could do with the 660 carb. Problem is, I think it still wants more fuel. So, I guess we can put it in wood, but I gotta fix that fuel leak. That's a lot. All right, so there you go. She's running. She seems to be running really, really well. It seems like it's close enough that I should be able to at least try it in a piece of wood. You know what I mean? And see how she's doing. But that fuel leak is going to be kind of a, pain in the butt because, well, let me show you here. Once I figure out what to do with this camera. Move this. We're on the other side of the room here where all my junk is. Alrighty. So, Partner 5000, it's got a fuel leak, and where I showed you she's leaking is at this bolt hole right here. And if you look at the tank here, this is probably where she blew out at, right here. So this is a case half, if you haven't figured that out. So, I mean, if you look at it, I got to split the case in order to fix that, right? You know? But I guess I got options. I could put this case together. You know, here's the other half. I could work on assembling all of this and get this sealed up good and then just move all those parts to this. That's an option. This is probably the route we're going to go right here, though. And that's this one. She's not as good looking, I'll say that. She's definitely a little more scuffed up and everything. I'm thinking about throwing a set of seals in this and then just moving all the parts to this bottom half. That'll save me from having to split the case and go through all that. And whenever I do it, I mean, I got a good top end here. I could actually move this top end over to that saw and work it, putting it back to factory or to just like a normal firewood ported saw, and use this one as my alcohol racer. I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. And all because of that fuel leak, really. We'll have to see though how this progresses, because I mean, I got handlebar parts, I got a muffler here. I think I have everything here to get this assembled at the second saw. Here's a clutch cover, which we need to get rid of all the chain brake stuff, and why not do it to this one that's already got a busted flag and everything over that newer one. Here's a starter. I mean, the oil pump, the clutch, all that stuff's on here. I need a flywheel and a coil, it looks like. Yeah, I think those are the two parts that I would have to do to get. Here's the intake. So I just pull that carburetor off, put it on this intake. So yeah, that's what I need. I need a flywheel and a coil, which I technically do have a coil. I took a Partner 5000 coil and put it on a Homelite, and I'm going to pull that coil back off. So technically all I need is a flywheel for the Partner 5000. I think I got everything I would need to do this. So I think, and I can take care of a few of the little mods that I want to do in the process. You know what I mean? I think that's what we're going to end up doing, but it's going to be a project because I'm basically doing two saws at the same time. I was hoping to have that saw finished, because the way it's running and everything, I think we're very close to being finished. Now, I wanted to get into another project, so like I didn't want to be tearing into that partner build right now. I wanted to get into either this 395, and we're down here on the bottom over here, 046. Those are the two projects I wanted to get into. Now I'm getting tied up with this partner. Go figure, Now the Dalmar's almost ready to put in the wood. It's just I discovered we got well, I'm pretty certain I got an air leak. The only reason I'm thinking that is because it's being a pain in the butt to tune. So I want to do some pressure testing, I think. Now, one of the unexpected things is that I was not expecting that carb to ice up like that. Last night I had ran it enough that it completely iced up until she shut down. The whole freaking thing got super frosty, and it did it again this morning, but not nearly as bad, probably because I didn't run it long enough. Once this thing's done, it's like a 3 cut and done kind of deal. It's not something I'm going to go out and cut firewood with or nothing like that. So you know what I mean. Now, the carburetor, the reason I switched out the carburetor, so we were doing this originally on the 660 carburetor, and the first test run was obvious. I needed to get a lot more fuel to it. So instead of continuing with that 660 carb, I switched it out to an old style Tillotson. And that's because, I don't know, like, I have more experience with these old Tillotsons, and I can get these old ones to flow more than, well, pretty much any carb that I've ever played with. I can get more, I can get it to, I can modify it to push more fuel than anything else that I've played with. In fact, here is a high jet. So I don't have any here, do I? This is a high jet off one of these old Tillotsons. You see the size of the needle? I have that carb drilled out. Let me find something to point with. I have the high circuit drilled out to about there. So what I did is I ran Sharpie on this jet, and whenever I got a witness mark, so I seated the jet. So I hit it with Sharpie, seated the jet, and came out, and it left a witness mark about right there. And that's how much I got her drilled out to, which is way bigger than factory. I drilled out for the metering lever, or the needle, or whatever you want to call it, the low jets, everything, and I still feel like I could still get more fuel, or put more fuel to that saw. So I could try drilling this out some more. It's just, I'm suspicious this isn't what's holding it back. I think there's another passage, and I don't know how to get into it. You know what I mean? Something we're going to have to play with, but we might actually be looking to explore, find another carburetor yet. Something that can move even more fuel than this one. Now, the 660 carb, it ain't even drilled out but half that far. So, and if you look at the needle on the 660 carb, it's nowhere near as big as that one. And I would actually be drilling it out as big as the jet itself in order to get it that far. And I'm drilled out far enough that there's really no controlling the flow of fuel by turning the screw in and out. There really isn't. I could pretty much cut that sucker off, and it's literally the hole that I have drilled out. That's what's controlling the flow. The needle's really not doing anything at this point. I'm far beyond the point of being able to meter the amount of fuel with the needle. So, and this is just a little freaking, 49cc saw? And it's swallowing this much fuel. You know what I mean? Now, it's quite possible that I have it far enough that I might actually be rich. You really don't know until you hit a piece of wood. You know what I mean? Once you hit that piece of wood, then you know. And I found that this build doesn't really want a 4-stroke at all. Don't matter how rich or lean I tune it. And I think I might be running into some of that. And I don't think I'm really going to know for certain until I stick it into a piece of wood if I'm going to have to do more carb modifications. So before I do anything more carburetor related or whatever, I think we're going to have to just fix that fuel leak or switch it onto another case or something, and move on from that point. Part of the reason I don't want to just move it to the other case is because I just spent 2 evenings tidying up every single tiniest little air leak that this thing had. It was a pain in the butt. Almost all of it was issues at the intake with the intake boot and all that. And those intake boots don't have clamps. They just kind of squeeze on plate in there and everything. And it took me a long time to get everything just right, to get rid of those tiniest little air leaks. And that's part of the reason I don't want to put the time into switching the cases again, because then I'm going to have to start all over probably. That was a pain in the butt. And part of the reason I was getting those air leaks is because of how much machine work I've done. It kind of put the boot in a little bit of a bind. And she's wanting to kind of pull off, you know what I mean? And it's causing us a spot where she wants to leak. But, she's not leaking now. She's pressure tested now and everything. It's just now I got to deal with this fuel leak, which is part of the reason I'm starting to think about just getting some red coat thrown in that tank and sealing up the fuel leak that way. It'd probably be the easy out, I'll tell you that. So we'll see how she progresses. Probably am going to go with the red coat. I need to get some. This isn't the only saw that I need to put that in. I got some older vintage saws and stuff. It'll be interesting how this progresses. In the meantime, though, there's two things I want to get done. I need to get back onto some chain. It's all hanging. It's not the stuff you see hanging behind me. It's behind my shoulder. It's down low. It's attached to the bench, but that's the race chain, the chain like the that I'm working on. And there's probably 6 or 8 loops of it. So I need to get to work on that stuff, get that stuff finished, and I gotta get into that 395. I want to get into the 046, but I want to get the 395 done because that's going to be my 6 cube build, you know. But then again, I have that 385 I can just run. Heck, I could run that home light. That home light runs good enough. I'd run it too. You know, who cares really? Maybe I'll do that this year at Solfest. Put that home light in the vintage bounty log and then go ahead and run it in the regular classes. That'd be interesting to see, wouldn't it? Now, I will say one thing. Playing with alcohol brings a whole new series of issues that you run into. Things that you thought were fine are going to be bad, and I don't know, you're going to find things when you're playing with alcohol that you wouldn't have normally found. Alcohol doesn't like air leaks, for starters, not even the slightest. So if you want to start playing with alcohol, I'd strongly suggest making sure your air leaks are 100% solid. Pressure test it, make sure everything's 100% perfect, because a little air leak will go a long way on alcohol. I'll tell you what. It just makes it almost impossible to get an alcohol sol to run at all. Really, it don't matter what for modifications you make. It just don't want to do it. So you really got to get good at getting your air leaks tidied up to play with alcohol. So anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started on another build, though. And it's probably going to be the 395. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get that top end off, get her timed out, and start working on it. The main reason is because it's a brand new saw. I shouldn't run into any issues. This should just be a matter of getting it built and put back together and go. You know what I mean? So probably just going to do the 395 build, and then we'll tear into the 046 later. The Pullum, my 65cc Pullum build, I had said on a previous video about it's going lean on me, and it could have been an air leak or something, and it was actually the fuel line. The fuel line was bad. I was suspicious it was a fuel line because I had a little puddle of fuel in there below the carburetor. So I went ahead, changed the fuel line out, and what you know it, the tune actually went really fat on me, really fat. So it should be good to go. You know, well, that's about all there is to speak of as far as shop work. I've been really just playing with this Partner 5000, getting it converted to alcohol for a little while now. Really haven't done much else. I mean, I fixed that saw, that pulling, but besides that, I really haven't done any work on saws besides this Partner 5000. So that's about. Oh, sorry, I worked on the Dolmar too. So the Dolmar does run. All I got to do to put it into a piece of wood is get the air filter set up on it and get a barred chain on it. I'm suspicious it has an air leak, and you're just basically waiting for me to throw it on the bench here and get it pressure tested so I can see if it has an air leak. And I think it does. In fact, I'm probably just going to throw a set of seals in it regardless, or I don't know. We'll see. I might just throw seals in it and not even worry about the pressure test for now, because something's definitely funky there. It just does not want to tune perfectly, if you know what I mean. It's almost impossible to get it to tune just right, especially, well, at idle, I should say. A little bit lean and she don't want to run, a little bit rich and she don't want to run. I mean, in trying to find that sweet spot to where you can sit there and idle and thump all day long and all that stuff, it just doesn't happen. It's usually lean or rich. It's not severe, but it's just enough that it just refuses to tune, which, you know, very typical for an air leak. But anyway, hey, I Hope you enjoyed this short little one. Just a little shop update. Haven't done a whole lot except this Partner 5000 and did a little bit to that Dalmart. So, hey, catch you later.